Coming up next, Rob Walker from the Department of Mental Health and Tori Frazier from Solstice School. Welcome to Picking Up the Pieces. We're joined by Rob Walker, the Department of Mental Health, and Tori Frazier from the Solstice School. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're really excited to have you here. Rob, you are a repeat guest. We're very excited to have you on again. And so will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm young at heart. I work at the Department of Mental Health. I've been working there for 14 years. I've had all kinds of various jobs before that, but I think I'm in one that I can settle down with.
Great, fantastic.
Thank you.
And Tori, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm an aspiring art therapist for sexual abuse victims. I love volunteer work in my spare time, and I actually live at Highfields, which is an independent living program.
Terrific, terrific. Well, that's a wonderful field to be in because there's so many young adults that really need help and support that have been sexual abuse victims. Yeah. So that's especially timely now. So that's fantastic. Wow. So let's talk a little bit about, Rob, how'd you come to do what you do?
Really kind of a real circuitous journey. I started out in college not knowing what I wanted to do, but I like psychology. I ended up getting a master's degree in adult education, so I had various training jobs throughout my career, training people how to repair missiles, teaching reading skills to adult learners, doing a lot of computer classes. And then I went out on Social Security disability for 3 years, and then I found the job at the Department of Mental Health.
Fantastic, fantastic. So a really kind of eclectic journey that you have found really what you're passionate about, and that's very clear.
Yes.
Cool. Will you tell us, Tori, a little bit about your resiliency journey?
Well, being diagnosed with a mental health illness sometimes feels like a wave coming at you. It's really overwhelming. But with the right sense of hope and supports, anything's possible. I was sexually, verbally, and physically abused. I lived in uninhabitable environments, and it had a considerable psychological impact on me. I found the right supports, the right medication, and the right environment to be surrounded by, and it really helped me grow and learn and adapt to a mental health illness. And my journey was long, but it was successful, and I'm happy to be here today as the person that I am.
Wow, fantastic. And that's a great analogy. I've never heard that before, like a wave coming at you, that just, it can be so overwhelming. That's a perfect way to describe it. And then just you're kind of gasping for air and looking for the right supports and who will really be there for you and
right.
How do you identify what you need.
And it's completely possible to start your recovery journey, so.
Great. Well, thank you for being here and sharing that inspiration and that hope with people. That's important.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about what supports have helped you get there?
Well, art and music has been great supports. My dad actually taught me how to paint when I was young. But clinicians and residential staff have been great supports for me also. Some of the people that I've met have truly changed my life and left an impact on me.
Wow. Now, what has helped you, like what kind of got you started with, you said a little bit your dad helped you learn how to
right.
paint and things like that, and you want to be an art therapist. How has, kind of what led you to express yourself in art and through music? And
I guess it was just something that I inhabited. I started with collecting stickers, and I started sketching, then I started painting, and it really helped me get my mind off of things when I was going through rough times. Writing was a great support. Really, that's about it, I guess.
Okay, so really just that's the medium that spoke to you, a way to deal with some of your things that you were experiencing and expressing anger and kind of coming to terms and understanding?
Yeah.
And that was the vehicle. And what compels you to kind of, how did you decide to do that for a living?
Well, I really just wanted to help people growing up. That's really what I wanted to do, and it's something that I love. Art is what I love, and I think I could make differences in people's lives.
Fantastic, fantastic. We're really excited for you to hear about how you do that and how you go forward with that. That's very fun. Cool. So Rob, can you tell us a little bit about what supports are out there for young people?
Well, I think there's kind of traditional supports and non-traditional supports. I think there's a lot of supports. There's programs if you happen to be getting DMH services. There's one of the things that I've been really impressed with, and I wish I knew about it when I was younger, was that the community colleges, for instance, have a lot of support with for people with different learning styles, or different learning challenges. So I think there's a lot of formal supports in the colleges and in the high schools, and even we have things for people going through substance abuse issues. That there's recovery high schools now showing up in Massachusetts to help people with some of the substance abuse issues with kids.
Right, it is so fantastic that now they have particular supports in all different venues that are really customized to the young adult. That is fantastic. So let's talk about one of those. The Solstice School is really an amazing place. It's beautiful. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's a residential / school. You can go there as a resident or you can go as a day student. It's really great. They have great supports there and great opportunities.
And they have, actually Barry Pellet runs a whole outdoor experience that really has really contributed to a lot of young adults' recovery. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, there's a ropes course there. It's actually a rock wall with many different elements, and it's great to push yourself past your limits, emotionally and physically. It's actually a great experience, and it is a really great support during your time of need.
Great, and it's a really a holistic approach to young adult development, because a lot of young adults go into a traditional school and they just feel very isolated, or it's not responding to their needs, especially their therapeutic or their clinical needs. And really Solstice does a great job of embracing the whole youth.
Yeah, that's
with that kind of outdoor activities and the different other activities. Can you describe some of the other activities that happen there?
Barry Pellet actually helps you find volunteer work, from finding a job to opportunities in the community. He's really great with that. They have clinicians there who help you explore yourself and find yourself, and it's really great.
Great, really help you identify what you're looking for and then help you achieve it. That's fantastic, terrific. So let's talk a little bit about Solstice School, your transition from Solstice School to now Highfields, where that's more of an independent living. Can you talk about that transition?
Well, it's like a transition to adulthood. Going to an independent living means that you're going to eventually live on your own and find a college to go to or find a job. And that's really important during your recovery, because recovery is real and it's possible. So.
Right, and that's a huge message to talk to young adults about, because a lot of young adults, when they're newly diagnosed or they're just struggling with things aren't connecting or things not fitting in, they really feel lost. And it's so important for young adults like yourself to come on and give that message that, you know what, things seem hard right now, but they will turn around. Things will get better. Can you talk about some of the resources that helped you be able to see that things will get better?
Well, family was a great support. Even my little brother, who's 9 years old, he didn't really understand what was going on, but he was still such a great support system for me. Wow. Just looking at him and me wanting him to have a better life helped me get a better life,
Wow, so he was really an inspiration to you.
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. Really cool, really cool. Now, unfortunately, what happens to a lot of young adults who are experiencing mental health issues are bullied. And it's unfortunate, but the 70% of young adults who are bullied experience some kind of emotional or physical or some kind of challenge that bullies kind of prey on because they like the reaction. So what advice would you give to people who may be bullied?
Well, advice to the people who are bullied or someone who sees the bullying?
I think let's answer both. So what advice would you give to someone? Let's start off with someone who sees the bullying.
Well, it's always great to stick up for someone and, tell the bully to stop, but it also is very dangerous. In my opinion, I would stick up for the bully, but it's always great to tell an adult or an authority what's going on and individually support the victim and let them know that they're not alone.
Great. So one of the best things to do is just, kind of, they call it the bystander, is to not just be a bystander, but let someone know.
Right.
And and if you think it's safe, then you can, you might intervene, but you have to assess that. But the first thing should be absolutely tell someone, let someone know what's going on.
That's the most important thing, yes.
That's a very critical thing. And what would you do after the event to let the person know? That's a very critical piece.
Right.
That not a lot of people take that second step.
Right. Well, like I said, individually supporting them, maybe even, hanging out with them, talking to them, letting them know they're alone. Like with me, I was bullied as a child, and I've actually stuck up for people who have been bullied and told adults. And, it's great to help someone and let them know that they're not alone and talk to them about what they're going through and understanding, what they're feeling and, what's going on with them.
Right, because when you're bullied, you do feel very alone. Because you had shared with me that you have been bullied in the past and that people did not intervene, and not even administrators. And how isolating that feels and how dehumanizing really that feels.
Yeah.
So to really encourage people, if they see it or if you're being part of it, to let people know and find solutions. And I think we are making progress, but we still have a lot to go in that.
Yeah, we do.
So that's a very important piece. Can we talk about a little bit, Rob, how these kind of alternative schools are being, why are they so important?
I think they're great because I don't think everybody fits into traditional school system. And I think when you have some challenges of mental health issues, that you need more support than just the academic support. And I think schools are great at academic support, and they're good at some of the standard emotional issues. But I think when it comes to mental health issues, that they don't have the training or the facilities to really support somebody both emotionally and academically. So I think the alternative schools really make a difference and really help, as you said before, holistically, the kids' emotional wellness and the clinical issues too. So I think they're a great resource.
No, absolutely.
I think kids really have a chance to thrive in that kind of environment.
Absolutely, absolutely. And peer support is a big piece of that. And by peer support, we mean people with lived experience reaching out to individuals who have a mental health issue or a psychiatric disability. Why is peer support so important?
I think as much as adults and clinicians are empathetic and try to understand, I think there's nothing better than somebody who's been through it in terms to understand. I can't even measure it, but I've seen it with my own self, with people I've worked with professionally, and the groups I run, that there's something magical when somebody's really been through the same thing you are, and don't even have to say a lot of words, but you just know that they've been there. And I think that was in my own treatment growing up, and I think and probably many people's treatment, that's really the missing link, is the peer and the connection with somebody that's been there. I think it's important also to give people hope. I think one of the things I can do is that when I share some of what I've been through, that really gives people hope that, oh yeah, he can do it, then maybe I can too. I think hope is the most important thing.
Right, hope is really such a valuable resource for people to really be able to see it. One of my favorite analogies is the gentleman who ran the 4-minute mile, Roger Bannister. Before he did it, people thought it wasn't possible, it couldn't be done. And then after he ran the 4-minute mile, many, many, many people ran it because they saw that it was possible. And that's the biggest, really, reason that I think that peer support is so critical, because once people see that, wow, this young woman went through that, or this young man went through that, I could do that too. So that's important.
I think we're, a lot of ways, people like me that have been given a diagnosis, in some ways are our own worst enemies, that we limit ourselves before we even try anything. That I know, at least in the past, it's been, no, I can't do that, no, they won't listen to me, no, I'm not worthy, no, whatever, no, 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 no. So you never even get the chance to take a risk. And if you don't believe in yourself, then nothing's possible.
Right, absolutely. And sometimes other people have to hold that hope for you when things seem like, as you mentioned, when the wave crashing in, you feel very overwhelmed and you don't know where to begin. So other people have to kind of be that life support for you, be that kind of lifeboat, if you will. So that's really important. How do you see that? How do you providing hope for other people? How do you see that in terms of with art therapy being that? What do you see your role there?
Well, I think like I said, expressing yourself is always very important in your recovery. You know, getting that anger out, getting those negative emotions out. I feel like it could change someone's life, you know, because it's changed mine, and I think it is possible, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. In what ways has it changed your life?
Well, you know, just getting my mind off of things, you know, expressing
Absolutely.
myself and leaving a part of me behind, you know, or, you know, leaving a part of me into something else and expressing myself in that way.
Wow, that's a nice way to put it, leaving a piece of you. So when you, because I don't have a lot of artistic ability, so I greatly admire people who do, but it is true, when you put together something that you're really proud of and that really speaks to people. I have a good friend who's an artist, and he pours himself out into his pieces, and people feel it and they see it, and it really moves them. And it's such a great thing to be able to do that through art, and to do that through music, and to be able to teach other young adults. I know I do a lot of work at Worcester State Hospital, and a lot of the young adults are learning to play guitar through other peer supports, which is really neat. The young adults are teaching other young adults, and they do a lot of talent shows and things like that, ways to express themselves. And they're gaining more control over their emotions, over their ability to communicate, and their other avenues of expression, rather than violence or rather than you know, negative coping behaviors. So it is such a powerful piece, and I think sometimes it's undervalued in some of our settings. So it's really exciting to see places like Solstice School embracing it, and other alternative schools.
I think also, I think a lot of people, if they've experienced trauma or whatever, that talking isn't the way they feel better, and just talking about something isn't always the best approach. So I think the more avenues you have to express yourself besides just talking, the better. The art, I think some of the most talented artists and musicians I've met are the people in some of the state hospitals and some of the state programs, that sometimes talking's not enough.
Absolutely, absolutely. You need another vehicle to, excuse me, to do that. Like, I know places like Gould Farm, they do a lot of farming and things like that to help the person get out and reconnect to nature. So I think that's really important. But let's talk about work can also be a very therapeutic part of that. Can you tell us why work is important to your recovery?
Well, I mean, it's not only important to your recovery, but it's also important into your transition into adulthood, to find yourself and adapt and have agility, which is like readiness to believe in yourself. Because believing in yourself, like Rob said, is the most important thing during your recovery. Because without that, it's really tough, you know. Work is also great for, you know, learning how to budget, to learning how to, you know, interact with others when you have anxiety or paranoia. It's really a great step, you know, by just starting at the dollar store or Market Basket. You know, it's a great opportunity to learn how to push yourself past that limit.
Absolutely. So I think that's a great point, is that it's a stepping stone to adulthood. Like, work is part of what everyone does. You know, what do people ask you when you go, you know, when you're out anywhere, at the grocery store or at a party, you know, oh, what do you do for work? And to be able to answer that question and talk about, well, okay, yeah. And you learn the basic skills. Every job you learn something. And it's important to move forward and to kind of figure out, oh, how do I budget? What do I do? And how do I express myself? And I think, Rob, your point was also great about not everyone responds well to talking. A lot of our young adults are not, it doesn't respond to them. Talking is not what, you know, they've heard a lot of talk, they've heard a lot of broken promises, that's not the way that moves them. It's not the way that they really respond best.
No. And I also think work, I hate to use this word normal, but work is something, as you said, that everybody does. So it makes you feel part of the greater community, and it makes you feel productive. Because I think a lot of what I went through, and a lot of people I talk to go through, is they feel like all they do is take services and receive services, which is great when you need it, but it's also great to give back. I met so many people, including Tori. Almost everybody I met always wants to give back, and there's something very cool about wanting to give back and give back from what you've learned in receiving services.
I think it's a very powerful piece where you're at the point where you can actually give back. I worked with one young woman, and she was in a very critical point in her recovery, and a lot of challenging things were happening to her. And we decided in the program I was in, which was the BU Center for Psychiatric Rehabilitation, to go to the food bank. And she went to the food bank, and some people even questioned, like, is she ready to go? Can she go? And I was like, absolutely. You know, we're going to separate cans. We're going to help people. And afterwards, they told you how many pieces of food you separated and how many people you fed, how many people who didn't have food. And she was like, could I have that piece of paper? And I still remember her carrying around that piece of paper like, this is how many, and she said, I've never helped anyone before. And she carried around that paper, and for days and weeks afterwards, and she said, Kim, can I keep it? And I said, yeah, I just have to make a photocopy for our records, but absolutely, you can keep that piece of paper. And she went back to the program and told me, you know how many people we fed? I loved helping people. And then we looked for other opportunities, other ways for her to contribute, because she no longer felt like a patient. She felt like someone who made a difference.
Yeah, that's great.
And it was an amazing change. And I see that shift time after time in people. And I think it's a big shift in young adults, as you say, transitioning, taking the next step. You can almost see young adult shifts when they're ready to kind of take that on. Now, Rob, what advice would you give to young adults who kind of are at that point where they're like, you know what, I'm no longer a patient. I know who I am. I know what I want, but the people in my life still aren't quite ready to believe it?
I think this is a great question, because I think part of it is to switch roles and to be patient with your parents, because I know as a parent of three transition age daughters that sometimes you're ready to go. Sometimes the kid is ready to go out of the gate, but it's the parents that are holding back. So I think some of it is learning how to parent your parents, how to be patient with them. But I think some of the ways to prove it is, I think, to be responsible, to show that you can be trusted, to help others. I think part of the way to show you're growing up is to be able to get outside of yourself and give back to others. And I think take risks. That we talked about it before. Don't always turn down everything before you've tried it. I remember for the longest time I never wanted to try broccoli, but when I finally got the courage to try broccoli, I was like, oh wow, this isn't bad. But I think taking risks and then deciding afterwards you don't like it, I think is much better. But I think and budgeting. Tori talked about budgets, but showing the adults in your life, the parents, that you're responsible with money. And finally, I think finding an adult mentor. I think having another important, significant adult in your life besides just your parents, I think, is a really important part of your transition. And I think other adults in your life can help you in ways that your parents can't.
Fantastic. So to reach out to other people other than your parents, other than your caregivers, to say who is someone in your life that you can bounce ideas off or seek support from is incredibly important. I think that's great advice. And to demonstrate in small ways that you're ready to take on that responsibility. So as we conclude, Tori, any final advice you would give to young adults who are at that kind of precipice, at that transition, and they're looking to move forward in their recovery? What advice would you give to them?
Well, I would just give the advice that, to keep in mind that recovery is possible, and it may feel like you're secluded and alone, but you're not. There's millions and millions of people out there who are experiencing mental health illnesses and who have recovered and become, successful in their life. And it is possible. And I think, like I said, credulity, readiness to believe in yourself. That's the most important thing, believing in yourself.
Great, and helping them believe in themselves is the first important step. Fantastic. I think that's a great note to end on, that really helping people believe in themselves is a great step. So find people who support you and are ready to help you move to the next level and believe in yourself. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Rob and Tori, for being on the show. Your story is really inspirational, and we appreciate you being on. And I'd like to say thank you to the Department for Mental Health for sponsoring our show, Picking Up the Pieces. And thank you to our audience for tuning in once again to Picking Up the Pieces. And we'd like you to reach out to that special person that might be in need of your support. Thank you.